Hi guys, Alec Peirce at the ranch, in the garage at the ranch, and here I am working on another project. There might be some interest in this for you. If you go onto YouTube and you punch in Lincoln AC-225, you can add a welder if you want to, you will find dozens and dozens of YouTube videos from people who have one of these famous old, commonly called, although incorrectly called, tombstone style welders from Lincoln. Now this is an old one, made in 1973. You get that date, by the way, for you guys who wonder how I know that, from the schematic, the wiring diagram on the inside. You have to actually take the back panel off, and there'd be a piece of paper in there with the wiring diagram on the bottom, handwritten. It'll give the date, should give the date. Although you can also check with serial numbers. Anyway, 1973, so it's an oldie, which means it's a goodie. It's extra heavy. I'm not exactly a kid anymore, and I need help to put this up onto the bench if I'm working on it. I don't know how heavy it is, 100 pounds, maybe a bit more. And that's good. The old transformers were extremely good, well wound with a heavy, pure copper wire. They were very, very good. And that's why they're so popular. Thousands of these are still in use every day. In fact, they still sell an almost identical model, a little different shape to the body, but that's it. The dial and the controls, everything else is almost exactly the same, so they're very, very popular. Now, mine is a little different from yours. If you have an original AC-225 welder, Lincoln welder, it may look a little different from this. First of all, you don't have a handle on it like this. They didn't have a handle. They had these two little corner pieces on. I'm not sure what that was all about. They did not have a handle. And again, as I mentioned, it's very heavy, so it's a nuisance to move it around. Not anymore, not for me anyway. I just move it around anywhere I want. I drag it, lift it, pull it, just like that, because I made a handle for it. I'm going to describe this handle in just a minute after I get it up on the bench. And I put wheels on it too. Wheels are really, really nice. I'm not sure if you're aware of that, but if you drive a car or an ATV or a tractor, you must believe me when I say that wheels are really, really handy, even on a welder, particularly if it's heavy. A couple of things I had to do. And then the cables. Your cables aren't like this. If you have an original, they're not like this. No. Because the original cables on these welders were part of the welder. They were fastened to it. You couldn't take them off. The cable actually went through these two holes right here. I'm going to get down here, Diana. If you can squat down a little bit. The original cables, both cables, the ground and the live cable, the welding cable, went through these holes, and they were held on the inside by a clamp. There's the screw hole for the clamp, so the cables couldn't be pulled out, and they were wired directly to the transformer and to the ground, and certainly solid electrically and mechanically very solid, but a pain in the butt, because these cables were always fastened to the box. You couldn't move the box without dragging the damn cables around. It was a nuisance. And where'd you store the cables? I used to pull them around the corner and roll them up very carefully. I got them into the back, but just barely. They'd fall out, everything else. So I decided what I would do as one of my improvements was to add these quick disconnects, which are all part of almost all modern welders. Very easy to do. You can buy this kit, the jack, you can buy those on anywhere. I got mine on Amazon. I think I paid 13 bucks or something silly for them. You drill a 3/4 inch hole. They go in with a nut on the back. That's it. And then you run your cables, the same cable from the inside to the back of those. And then you can buy the whole thing as a kit. I haven't, for some reason, I don't know why I bought them separately. And then you get the plug, we'll call this a plug, which goes onto the cable. So I cut the cables off, put a nice new lug on the end of it, and then fastened it to the brass plug and slid the sleeve over top of it again. So now what you do is you simply slide it in there like so, give it a hard twist, it locks in place. Let's go welding. Yeah, makes it so much easier, and same for the ground as well. And then just the same thing, undo it, pull it out until it stops, and take it out. Just that easy. I'm going to put this up on the bench. I'm going to show you a couple other things, a couple of details about what I did, and then you can either copy it, or you can use this as some ideas to improve your own Lincoln. Got the welder up on the bench, 4 men and a lift hoist. No, it's not that bad. I got to guess this weighs 100 pounds or more, at least 110 maybe, which is not a really big deal for a lot of you young guys that are working hard every day. But for an old bugger like me who doesn't do anything anymore, I work pretty hard. It's a load, so I get some help with it. Anyway, there she is. You notice, by the way, that I cleaned it all off, and I gave it a steel wool cleaning, repainted it, almost exactly the same color. I'm not a painter, so it's not a perfect paint job. I didn't want a perfect paint job. It's a heck of a lot better than it used to be. The faceplate here, which you can still buy, by the way, I cleaned it up. I mean, it looks perfect. The selector, cleaned it all, took it all apart. Cleaned it up inside, cleaned up all the brass contacts, put some dielectric grease. It's grease that you can put on electric components. If you're not sure what I mean, you put it on electric components so it keeps them so they work smoothly and keep it free from corrosion, but it doesn't affect the electrical properties of the contact. Then I added, as I mentioned earlier, these 2 jacks, so that now I can just take my cord and stick it in. Has a little key on it, stick it in, turn it till it's tight, and go welding. Okay, really, really handy. Switch, I clean the switch all up, works perfectly, put it back on. Even went and bought a new sticker, $6 for a brand new sticker that says you should wear safety goggles. Anyway, so it looks pretty nice. Now, if you're wondering about whether or not you should do this for yours, and you're saying, gosh, that looks pretty nice, I'd like to do that, just like Alec Peirce at the ranch, stop wondering. This is easy. It's easy. Really, really. You take a look at, take the panels off the back, whole bunch of screws. They use these 5/16 hex head screws, and the whole thing comes apart. What I do often when I'm taking something apart that I'm not completely familiar with is take pictures as I do it. And I put it back together. It's really very easy. So there you go. Now, what I did for the handle is simple. You can see here now a strap goes straight up like this on each side. I bored a hole through the strap here and through the side of the welder here, and I put a 3/8 bolt with a nylock nut on it, and I had to put a spacer right in here because the strap goes down and goes over top of these fins, and then there's a bit of a jump here in the body. So to keep it straight, I made a little spacer which I just cut out of a piece of 3/4 inch steel pipe. So that's fine. On the bottom, what I found, it was kind of interesting, I took a 1/2 inch threaded rod. I was going to be fancy and put bolts and all kinds of stuff on, but I discovered that if you take a 1/2 inch threaded rod, any 1/2 inch rod, in my case I used 1/2 inch threaded rod, it'll go right through there. There's a hole bigger than 1/2 inch in the side of the frame, and then the transformer sits right there, and it sits on its own frame because it's very, very heavy, and there's 2 holes in the side of the transformer as well. So if you take a look at your own, you take a look through there, you'll see, you can look right through. So I put a 1/2 inch threaded rod through, I put a washer here, and I put on a run flat wheel, meaning a wheel with no tube in it, and another washer, and a lock, and a nylock bolt on this side, same on the other side, done. So this was an easy job. I happen to have a piece of 1.25 inch steel pipe kicking around, welded that on because I have a welder, and gave it a bit of paint to make it look pretty, and there it is, just about that simple. Now, one other thing you'll find, once you put these wheels on, it raises the welder off the ground. And so when you put the wheels on, it'll tip down. It'll be tipped down. So the other thing I had to do, if you can zoom in there, Diana, right here, you can see here, I made just a piece of angle iron. And there's a bracket on the bottom of the transformer in there, and that bracket happens to have 2 holes in it that are threaded 1/4 18, 1/4 whatever it is. And I just took this piece of steel bracket, the right height, give it a bit of a paint job, 2 holes, and screwed it on. So now it comes down and sits on it. So now it sits perfectly level. Oh, there you go. It looks beautiful. It works perfectly, and I just love my old Lincoln. I'll give that to my son. And so 73. He was born in 1988. So I'll give it to my son when I'm gone, and he'll give it to his son, my grandson Henry, who is already learning all about tools and neat stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if this baby is still around in another 50 to 100 years. Works perfectly. Anyway, if you have an old AC-225, please don't sell it. They're great old welders. There you go. That's it. Alec Peirce at the ranch. Hope there was something in there for you. I think I covered everything that's important, and we're done. Talk to you soon.